We floated on our backs and tried to save our energy. Luckily, the sea was very calm. But by 1 o'clock in the morning I was so tired I didn't think I could go on any longer. "Leave me," I said to Conseil. "It's no use. You will have more chance of surviving without me." "Leave my master? Never," he replied. Just then the moon appeared through the clouds. Somehow this gave us new hope. I saw our ship, about 5 miles from us. I wanted to cry out, but what good would that do? The ship was too far away. I was so confused and had no energy. Now and again in my confused state I heard Conseil's cries for help. But we seemed to be alone, utterly alone. At a certain point, however, we realized that there was someone else in the sea, that we weren't alone. We heard another voice. "Is there anybody out there?" shouted Conseil as loudly as he could. "Help us!" I shouted. And then we heard a human voice responding to ours. Was it the voice of another victim? Or was it a voice coming from a boat? Were we going to be saved? Would we at least have somebody else who would keep us company while we died? Conseil made one last effort. He held his head up as high as he could above the water to see. "What did you see?" I asked. I saw. But he did not say more. What had he seen? And then I remembered. I remembered what we had been hunting for the last few weeks. Was it the creature? The monster? I needed to look. I made one last effort to raise my head to see, and then I sank. At that moment, something hard struck me. I held on to it. I felt something pulling me up above the water. I had no idea what was happening. It was at this point that I fainted. I opened my eyes and saw a face in front of me. It wasn't the face of Conseil, but it was a face that I recognized immediately. It was Ned Land. "Ned!" I cried. "Where are we? What is this place? And why are you here? Did you fall into the sea like me?" I asked all these questions one after the other. I was very confused. "I can only answer your last two questions, Professor," replied Ned. "I'm not sure where we are. It's too dark to tell. I don't know what kind of place this is either. I fell into the sea just like you, but I found something solid and climbed onto it." "Something solid," I repeated to myself. Ned helped me to stand up. It was true. I could hear the water below. What was I standing on? It was then that I understood. I looked at Ned and said, "We are standing on top of it right now." "What?" asked Ned. "That thing! The thing that attacked us! We are standing on it." I kicked the surface beneath me. It was hard like metal, and not soft like an animal's skin. It also made a sound. Clang! I remembered that sound from the night before, when Ned struck the creature with his harpoon. For me, that settled the matter. This was no sea creature. This was no monster. We were standing on something that was made with human hands. It had to be some kind of ship, some kind of submarine. We were standing on top of a submarine. It wasn't a good place to be. At any moment it could go down into the depths of the sea, and we would go down with it. We had no time to lose. We had to get inside. If we didn't, we would surely die. I heard someone walking toward me. It was Conseil. I had forgotten about him for a moment in the confusion. "Sir," cried Conseil, "I am so glad you are well. I thought—" But Conseil didn't finish his sentence. He paused for a second or two, and then he said, "Listen, can you hear that noise? Where is it coming from?" I listened, and thought that I could hear some sounds coming from inside. I crawled around looking for some kind of opening, a hatch maybe, but I couldn't find anything. My search was becoming more and more difficult now, because the moon had disappeared behind the clouds, leaving us in total darkness. At that moment, the submarine began to move, and it felt like it was diving down. "This is the moment. I'm going to die," I thought. But before I could say my prayers, I heard Ned. He started to kick the ship and shouted, "Open up! Open up!" Ned's cries were heard, and a man appeared, climbing out of a hatch. He said something to us that I couldn't understand, and then disappeared just as quickly as he had arrived. Soon, 8 masked men came out of the same hatch. They said nothing to us, but pushed us through the hatch and into the belly of this metal monster. Who are these people? I asked myself. I was being taken somewhere in the darkness. Down, down we went. All of this was happening very quickly, and I couldn't see anything at all. We were pushed into some kind of room. I heard a door open, and then shut again with a bang. It took a few seconds for us to realize that we were alone. Where were we? We didn't know. Everything was black.
Prayer, prayer, prayer.
Belly, belly, belly. Crawl, crawl, crawl.
Hatch, hatch, hatch. Sink, sink, sink.